In this lecture, we'll be exploring Lightroom's Lens Correction Adjustment panel. So let's go ahead and expand it. We'll begin by discussing the role of lens corrections and why you might need them. Sometimes, when you take a photograph, your camera lens will create lens aberrations such as geometric distortions, chromatic aberration, and barrel distortion. Lightroom has several built-in lens profiles that can help correct these types of issues automatically. We can use the lens correction panel to do manual adjustments to try to rectify these aberrations. With that said, let's get right into our adjustment panel. Please make sure you click on Profile to begin with. One of the first checkboxes that we have here is the Enable Profile Corrections. This checkbox deals specifically with barrel or pin cushion distortion. This illustration gives an example of what this type of distortion can do to your image. It can make it look either convex or concave. We can correct this by selecting our camera's lens profile from the Profile tab. So I'm going to go ahead and first place a check mark here. And under the lens profile, we'll need to find the profile that matches the lens that we used to photograph this image. So here, Lightroom's detected that the Canon EF 24-105mm lens was used. So it's already detected the lens. Don't worry if Lightroom isn't able to find your lens profile, or for whatever reason you're not able to find it in this list, because in a moment we're going to show you how to work with manual corrections using the manual adjustments panel here. For now, we're just looking at the automated methods. Now let's go ahead and see the before and after. This is before the correction, and this is with the correction with the lens's correct profile. You can see that a very slight adjustment was made. And in some cases, you will definitely experience a more significant change. So once you've specified your camera lens, you can make further manual adjustments using the distortion and vignetting sliders. The distortion slider attempts to correct pin cushion or barrel distortion. The vignetting slider will add or remove vignetting around the edges of the image. So let's take a look at the distortion slider first. You can see what's happening there as I move the slider from left to right. Okay, so it's not a very dramatic change, but it does attempt to remove very small amounts of pin cushion or barrel distortion. Now the vignetting slider. Okay, again, not a very dramatic change at all. If I move the slider to the left, you can see the vignetting effect that's created on the edges of the image. And this is an inverted vignetting effect if I move the vignetting slider all the way to the right. You can see it really lightens the edges of the photograph. Okay, so the next option here we have is to remove chromatic aberration automatically. Chromatic aberration is also known as color fringing. It occurs when a lens is unable to focus all the colors of an object to the same convergence point on the image sensor. So this can cause a glow to appear around parts of an image. And I'm going to zoom in just so I can show you. Okay, so here we have a little bit of it going on. I'll zoom in even more so you can see it better. So that right there, that little glow effect that you see at the edges of some of these buildings. Let's go ahead and click the Remove Chromatic Aberration automatically and see what happens. Okay, so not much happened there at all. That tells us that we'll probably need to do this manually. Now, since we weren't able to get rid of the chromatic aberration automatically, we're going to go over to the Manual tab. And here we have a color picker next to the label Defringe. Go ahead and select that color picker. Now click the color of the chromatic aberration. So I'm going to go ahead and click this color here. And you can see that Lightroom removed a little bit of it. I might have to find a more suitable color. But you do have to be careful, because if you click a color that is quite overly represented in the other parts of the image, you're going to start affecting other parts of the image. Okay, so there we go. That removed a lot of the purple hue in the edges around the building. And so that was the goal. So I'm going to put this color picker back. If you don't want to use the color picker for color selection, or if you feel it's not doing a good job for you, you can always toggle these sliders here back and forth. So the amount just controls the intensity of the removal. And chromatic aberration normally consists of a purple hue and a green hue. And so you can play around with the amount on each one of these hues. If you want to impact the purple hue, you can use this slider here. So you can see the difference there. It's quite significant. If you want to impact the green hue, you're going to use this slider here. Okay, so there's not much green in there, especially after we've removed the purple. And so that's about as good as we can probably get it. So I'm going to go back to Fit in my navigator. So in addition to defringing, we can also adjust the distortion level. And the distortion setting over here is the same thing as the profile correction, except we're doing it manually. So what we're trying to do here would be to remove the pincushion or barrel distortions. Now to reduce pincushion, you would drag the slider to the left. And to repair barrel distortions, you would drag the slider over to the right. Now the constrain crop checkbox, say for example, I move this slider all the way to the right. You'll notice that I start getting a white background there. The constrain crop will make sure that when I do my distortions, I don't get that white backdrop. It makes the image take up the full width and length of the preview area. And we can also add manual vignetting. So if you want to add some vignetting here, you can. The midpoint controls how far the vignetting effect travels towards the center of your image. So remember that the vignette is a gradient that goes from a dark shadow to a much lighter shadow, and that gradient effect, the length of its travel can be controlled by the midpoint slider. Okay, and that's how we control distortions in an image. And in the next lesson, we'll work with the transform panel.